Good morning, guys. It's Simon. Wanted to do a quick trade review this morning and kind of tell y'all what it was that I was looking for today. Even though I won't be here, how I'd approach it. I may be back, by the way, in the afternoon, but I will not be here in the morning. So obviously this morning we're currently trading at 2001, just over the 2K level. And clearly that's an important level. Overnight on ES, we traded up to a high of 2003 and 3/4, clearly above that 2K and just above the year-to-date height. So with that being said, clearly it's important if we're going to have any upside today that we get above the year-to-date high, but obviously we need to get above and hold above the 2000 level for a push higher. So my primary warning on the day is this. It's the last day of the month. It's pre-holiday trading. It will be thin. There's no question. It's been predominantly choppy with small to no rotations. And that has been killer if you're trying to trade in that, right? It's both a test of patience, right? And it is a test of discipline for not entering a trade that doesn't either fit you emotionally, psychologically, or in your written trading plan, right? A couple of y'all are new. I want to be clear. Most of my entries should be pre-planned, meaning pre-planned entry, exit, and stop. Just like I did yesterday where I laid out exactly how I was going to handle that trade, and I handled it exactly that way. It doesn't mean that the trade was right or wrong, but what that does for me is it's, again, take care of yourselves emotionally, right? The fewer questions you have, the less anxiety you'll have, right? And the more certainty you have in what you're going to do, the less anxiety you'll have. So that being said, this morning, I would not look to be the hero and fade it, but that does not mean that it can't be faded or shorted, right? Clearly, if we fail to recover again above the Globex high, right? First test in, failed to recover up against Globex high, and then we trade below and get below first. The 2K level is important, but most importantly, we need to get back below this 1997 and a quarter. Below 97 and a quarter opens the door for a trade back down to Thursday's low, right? And then levels below. So let's examine those levels below. Okay, the blue areas I have highlighted on the chart, right, are all poorly auctioned areas. As y'all know, I hate putting, let's fix this. I hate putting very tiny zones. However, 1984 to 1985, 50 is an important location. It's where this first little batch of poorly auctioned area ends. It's very possible to get a responsive buy there and back above Thursday's low for potential trap back into the middle. Again, I'm covering the downside, but I am not expecting a downside move. I want to be clear about that. If we get it, that'll be great. First time into 1983 and a quarter, 1981 and a quarter, I would be a buyer, look to be a buyer in this area. I would look to be a buyer in this, or for responsive buys in the 1977 and a quarter to 1975 and 3/4. And finally, if we get down to 72 and 3/4 to 70 3/4, these areas are all very, very attractive. And also you'll notice this is all bunched up underneath here. We have a bunch of zones stacked right together. I generally hate doing that. They're all valid. This is a result of summertime trading where everything got stacked up on top of each other. It becomes difficult to spread things out. The other thing is if we get down here, right, so particularly into this area, this is roughly from where we're trading right now, 25 and 30 down, right? It's very rare to get closes underneath that level, right? It is possible we can have a day where we just kind of do this, in which case you would end up taking a loss from these zones, assuming there's absolutely zero rotation back up. You'll be able to identify the lack of counter rotation by seeing how it handles the zones above, right? If you get to this zone and it sits here and flushes, then it gets to this zone, sits here and flushes, with an inability to get 2 points back up prior to coming in for a second time of the test, well then you know to have a little bit more caution down here. But generally my principle is first time into these zones, the gross majority of the time it pays for me to simply take the top of the zone and handle it from and handle my trade from there, with stops 2 points behind, right? I doubt this scenario occurs. We haven't been able to get any downside the entire month. Barring news coming out, I don't see why today will be any different. Okay, so additionally, be aware we've been consolidating. I'll cover this in just a second, but we've been consolidating now for 4 days, and we are still due for a directional move. That hasn't changed. And so yesterday it looked like they gave a shot at a directional move to the downside. That failed. It would bear logic that not only that, but people who shorted yesterday or who are still cash shorts will be forced in, particularly above the 2002 3/4, and be forced in to areas higher. So really what I would be looking for, and I would assume is my first backside test in the Thursday's high, would get a responsive buy. This is assuming by the time we get over to the open that we are still trading above Thursday's high. So first time into Thursday's high, a push higher. If you are super aggressive, right, that first test, we were tested already once into 1999.50, 2000 area overnight. And if you're super aggressive, that would be another area to look for possible positioning for a push higher. Let's cover this Globex high. So I assume, might be wrong, that Globex high will push higher. I assume Globex high will push higher into the AM, and so if that's the case, please adjust this 2006. This is really where I think Globex high is going to land. If I'm incorrect or wrong about that, please make the appropriate adjustments. But I think that this is where we'll end up with Globex high. That fits the zones above. Again, I'm not looking to fade these, but more use them as upside targets. I think the long side will be easier than the short side today on rotations down, and I would be looking for first 2009, 2011, followed by this 14, 16, 19 3/4 to 21 3/4, or 20 and if we really get extended, 2026 to 2028. One last note of interest: if I was going to short, right, I would make sure that we're really well extended up into these areas, which are my higher odds areas for getting launches back to the downside. I would make sure that I'm getting some kind of counter rotation prior to arriving at these zones, meaning more than 2 points of counter rotation as we're up in this area, as I don't want to get into a trade that's just going to sit in the zone or even press my patience and make me wait 2 or 3 hours to get a downside move. That's not my move. That's not my trade. And so I want to see some kind of two-sided trade up in here, and then I would use 1 minute tick divergence to assist me in looking for trade location up in these areas for a potential move back lower. Again, the key here today is going to be holding between this 1999 3/4, and really I don't think this year-to-date high is so important as I do this 2K to 1997 1/4, 1995 1/4. I think is very important. Like I said, if we trade back below there, that does open the door for a move to retest yesterday's lows in areas lower, but we have had absolutely no indication of selling. I realize we have some economic data points. Please check Forex Factory for the econ data points and when they're coming out this morning. Okay, so I have run out of time on NQ. Just realize NQ also same situation. I'll just give a quick chart here to make it really clear. Okay, as long as NQ is holding above these levels, right? This is the breakout above, gives you a push to the upside. There's really not a lot of, there's no resistance standing in the way. These are all new highs. Obviously, this is the Globex high right now. Below opens the door and potential test back down to levels lower. 40.55 would be the first area, followed by these areas down here. Again, I'd be surprised if we get a downside move, but anything's possible. And just follow your trade rules, guys. You already know how to do this, right? First time into the zone, we expect a pause, counter rotation. Focus has been on the long side consistently. It's been frustrating not being able to get an entry to the long side. August is almost over. I showed in the trade review that the ranges will and should expand, and September, particularly after the first 2 weeks of September, all the way into December, tend to be very good trading. So just take it easy. Last day of the month. Don't overstretch it. Anyways, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I appreciate all the prayers, and I will hopefully be talking to you all later today. Have a good one.